Welcome to the Manifestation Lab. This is your host, Kelly Howe. From the grounded science to the mystical and unseen, we're investigating this big experiment we call life and finding what really works when it comes to manifesting a life that sets your heart and your soul on fire. Welcome to the lab. Welcome back to the Manifestation Lab. Missed you guys. I'm glad to be back. I've been continuing to take some time off and kind of rest and reset and recalibrate, and I'm really gearing up for the end of the year. I'm excited for what's to come. You'll want to keep your eye out. I've got some fun stuff coming your way, and I think it's going to benefit all of us mutually. So just kind of gearing up for that, but I'm getting back into the podcast and loving chatting with my guests again and getting that out to you all. Today, I'm talking with Kalle LeMone. Kalle is a really good friend of mine. We like to say that we manifested each other. I think we mentioned that in the conversation later on, but truly, I know that I had a moment when I was like, okay, let's play with this manifestation thing. What kind of friend would be like amazing to have living right around the corner? And sure enough, Kalle pops into my life. She lives a block away from me. We're totally kindred spirits, soul sisters. I know I always say that, but truthfully, I think everybody I have on the podcast probably is. Today, I'm talking with Kalle about her health journey and everything that she's been through. Her story is really interesting. I think it's going to resonate with a lot of you. She struggled for a long time with hormone imbalances that she just had a really hard time figuring out what was going on. After 18 years of amenorrhea, so no period for 18 years, she was able to detoxify her body, detoxify her mind, heal some trauma, do some emotional healing and some spiritual healing. And working with a doctor, she was able to start a period naturally after 18 freaking years. It's incredible. She was able to get pregnant naturally with her second son, and her journey is just really interesting. Truthfully, I wanted to have Kalle on to share her story because I know there's a lot of people struggling with infertility, struggling with hormone imbalances, and really feeling lost as far as what to do with that. I mean, there's ways that we can take things to make us feel better. There's ways that we can take things to help us get pregnant. And, sometimes that's the path that we need to take or, decide to take. But I think she's truly inspiring. And also motivating in the sense that there are other ways to get there. Our body truly wants to heal. It really, really does. And if we can get super focused and stay on the journey and stay on the path, I think she is an awesome expander for us to look at and go, oh my gosh, if she did it, maybe I can too. I have struggled with hypothyroidism for coming up on 20 years now. And I would say probably for 15 years, I've been on a root cause, trying to find out like what is truly going on deep inside that is leading to this hypothyroid issue. I am still on that journey. I don't think I would be doing this podcast if I didn't have hypothyroidism. So in that way, I feel like it has helped me to grow and expand and learn who I am. And it really pushes my boundaries as far as what I'm willing to investigate and look at and learn about. And that has been the hugest blessing for me. Frustrating at times also, but also a blessing. Like I said, I'm still on the journey. I haven't gotten it totally figured out, but I am much healthier than I was 15 years ago, inside and out. And I think Kalle could speak to that as well. So sit back and enjoy. We talk about her healing journey. We also talk about some of the ins and outs, some of the frustrations that can come up when you're on a journey like that, trying to get to the root cause of your issue. We also get into talking about the benefits and also the downside to working with only Western medicine, some of the ways that can hold us back, and honestly, some of the kind of underbelly of the business of, traditional Western medicine that maybe some of us don't know about. So I think this is going to be a really inspiring conversation. I'd love for you to stick around until the end and enjoy the conversation. Okay, well, I'm so glad we're doing this.
Me too.
Yay. So I kind of want to pinch myself when I do these because I can't believe I get to call this work. Mm-hmm. It's so fun.
I can imagine.
And I mean, especially sitting down to talk to someone like you who I just feel so deeply resonant and connected with. But I also just really want to share your story. I mean, I don't want to share your story. I want to support you sharing your story because I think there's so many people out there that are struggling specifically with like fertility type things. And I think your story is so inspiring. And not just if you're struggling with fertility issues, but just as kind of like a health and wellness warrior. So I just wanted to sit down and chat with you and call it work, you know?
I love it.
All right. So maybe we could like kind of start with what are you up to now?
Okay.
And just give us a little background about you and like what you're doing day to day. And then we'll kind of go back and talk about some of the older stuff.
Okay. So currently I have a 7-year-old and a 1.5-year-old almost, and live literally just down the street from Kalle, like
right
walked
on the
here.
corner.
Yeah. Which we say we manifested each other into each other's
absolutely
neighborhood. So yeah, I am the co-founder of Nourish Cafe and Market, which is a health-focused cafe, fast casual, that we source organic and nutrient-rich, locally sourced food, and that's all
the cleanest food you could get anywhere.
It really is, like
really
down to every freaking detail, because that's the way Kimber, my business partner, and I eat at home. And so we wanted a place where people knew that we like vetted every ingredient, you know, so down to the oils that we cook. So we've been doing this for this summer was 6 years, which is crazy.
Wow.
And yeah, that really like makes up most of my time. I was a pharmaceutical rep for 9 years before I started, 8.5 years before I opened Nourish. So
awesome.
Yeah, totally different. Couldn't be further from each other.
Right. Like polar opposite lifestyle, I would imagine.
Yeah. Lifestyle and just like what I'm doing every day. Just like you were saying, like you can't believe you get to call this work. Like obviously there's a lot of mundane tasks and everything, but truly like the fact that I just get to go to a cafe and, you know, see happy, for the most part, people. And, you know, we get to serve all these foods. Obviously, there's a lot of stressful things. Like yesterday was like a pressure cooker. But
was it?
Yeah, I mean, just like in terms of like the admin stuff you have to do and all that. But yeah, it's a great.
Yeah, it is an incredible restaurant. I mean, it is, the food is amazing. I think the vibe you and Kimber have created is just like unparalleled, honestly, with any other restaurant that I've been in. And it's a beautiful space and I can't say enough wonderful things about it, but maybe let's go back. So what do you think tipped you into wanting to learn about food and kind of down your wellness rabbit hole?
Yeah. Because it is been such like a slow journey, but also like a few things that propelled it, you know? So I grew up on truly Hamburger Helper and Dunkaroos and Gushers, and we,
like so many of us.
Yeah, just totally processed food. I mean, we ate together as a family and stuff, and I was an athlete, so it wasn't like, you know, disease and things like that were with any of us kids or my family or anything. So anyway, when my sister moved to San Diego was actually kind of when I'd go visit her. I was like, green juice, you know, it was just so foreign. Yeah.
Witchery.
Totally. Healthy eating was like 100-calorie snack pack. That was what I thought was healthy.
Right. Like fat-free.
Totally. Yeah. And so then kind of being introduced to it very slowly, going out to some healthier places out there. And then what really started I never had, when I got off birth control, so I didn't start a period till I was 15. And then got off of it my freshman year of college. So 2 years later, didn't have a period for a whole year. So of course they put me on birth control, and then I had, you know, withdrawal bleeds basically.
So already, even before you started birth control, there was something off with your cycle?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know. Probably, yes. I mean, I just didn't start till I was 15 and then had very irregular cycles. But like, once again, I was an athlete. And so who knows?
Yeah.
You know?
I had a similar, mine was never really all that normal ever. My whole life.
But I didn't have the tools or the knowledge. Like it was just kind of what it was. Right. You know, and there was never a conversation about we can do things to fix this or to just look into it.
You're just different. That's just what your body's doing.
Yeah,
you're an athlete.
Let's put you on birth control. Like it wasn't even a question. So then when I was a freshman in college, I got off. I didn't have a period for a whole year, and they put me back on birth control. So the whole year I didn't have one single period, and until I got back on birth control, and then was on birth control until I was 26 or so. So that's another like 8 years, and then never had a period. And then we started wanting to get pregnant. And that's when I really started looking into, we'd started doing testing, and it's just something in my mind shifted where, all the doctors were saying like, and even the functional medicine practitioners, but they had more like, we're going to work with this. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the doctors would say like, if you want to have a period, you maybe get on birth control, and when you're ready to have a baby, we'll use fertility medications. Mm-hmm. But I just was like, I knew my hormones, because every time I tested for my hormones, they were at postmenopausal levels. So every time, this wasn't like a fluke time. We did this 5 different times over the course of these 4 years. And
as a 20-something-year-old.
Exactly, yes. And so we did every test, because there is like some cases where women go into menopause young, and we did, every test under the sun. But I just had this knowing of my diagnosis isn't that I have low hormones. I knew that no one's just born with that. There's a reason why.
There's a root cause.
And that, I will say, that idea forever changed the way I look at the human body and health. And did it take a really long time to get there and figure out what it was, and a lot of testing. But it was just this knowing that like our bodies are meant to heal, and given the right environment. And sometimes it's very easy things, like a change in diet. And sometimes it's like an onion, and you think you're getting there, and then it's like, oh crap, here's something else. Right. And it just takes so long, so that's really, and it ended up being, so I went to see Chris Kresser. He's one of because a lot of the functional medicine practitioners and naturopaths, and even the endocrinologists here, just everyone was kind of at the end of their rope.
Yeah. How many doctors do you think you have seen?
I would say, in terms of like specialists, I would say like 5 or 6. Yeah. Maybe closer to 10 actually.
Yeah, which is a lot. I mean, gosh, sometimes you hear stories of people that have been to like 20 and 30 different doctors all over the country.
Yeah.
And they still, can't get to, but 10 is a lot. And I mean, I want to hear more about you, but like with my thyroid journey and going, like seeing all these doctors and kind of reaching the end of their knowledge. And it's like each one I go to knows more. Yeah. And I go deeper and get farther and get more answers. But then also it's kind of this never ending, like nobody can figure it out.
For sure.
So I know that kind of frustration. And
and especially when you are working with someone that is doing things, and once again, I am not anti-Western medicine. I want to make that so clear. Like, thank God we have it. Acute purposes, like we need it. But whenever you're seeing a functional medicine practitioner or something else, someone that has a more holistic approach, it's not, you have to work with them for a long time. So like even with your thyroid, like you have to work with them months on that protocol. You can't just know within a week if something's going to work, So that's why it could take a really long time.
For sure.
Yeah. And so when I saw Kresser, we went out there and we flew out to California twice. And then did a lot of like Zoom calls, and finally he was kind of getting to his end of the rope too, because we had tried everything. This is over the course of 2 years that I was working with him, and it ended up being, long story short, that I had lead that had settled in my pituitary gland.
Wow.
Did a heavy metal detox, and we did a really hardcore. We did the first botanical, like gentle one.
Wow.
That got mercury out pretty quick, but the lead was not budging.
Wow.
And so that's when we did the DMSA. It's a Western medicine chelator.
Really intense detoxification process.
10 days on, 3 days off, or 10 days off, 3 days on.
Yeah.
It came out. I had a period for the first time ever, like within the month after that first one.
Wow.
After that was done. And then
that's amazing.
That was it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so
I know that our stories are really similar in the sense that it's like kind of started with clean eating, and then it sort of morphed into, okay, but what else? Like what else is underneath it? What else could be a root cause? And it, for me, I know I can say that it really kind of tiptoed me into learning about the energetics and the emotional body, and learning how the mind and the body are working together. So knowing that you did all this work to clean up your diet and to do these detoxification processes, how would you say it influenced your healing on the energetic side and kind of the emotional side of things.
Yeah. I mean, that was a huge catalyst into
and not necessarily with me.
Yeah.
I just mean in general.
Yeah. But that was a huge, so even just working with you I started to learn, be open to, and started doing like meditations and realizing like, reading those books, like what are they, like The Body Keeps Score. Oh my gosh, there's so many. What's the Bruce Lipton one?
Biology of Belief.
Yes. So started reading all these books and I was like, oh my goodness, like this, our mind affects everything, like can truly affect everything. And then obviously had which like profound experiences working with you. And that was what was so eye-opening about that for me is I think we live in this world of, if you want to manifest something, you got to think positive, and which obviously we both agree that aligning your frequency to where, what you want to attract in.
Absolutely.
But I know that emotions, and they can get stuck in your body, and you can kind of keep continuing that in that loop. And if you still believe, even if you're saying positive things, if that belief is still there. So let's just say I thought deep down that like I wasn't feminine because I didn't have my cycle, even though I was like, I can have a cycle. Like I'm putting all these affirmations out there. If deep down, because like I was a tomboy, all these things, if I thought that I wasn't feminine and that wasn't aligned, then how was everything else going to fall into place? And so tapping with you, saying those things out loud, and of course, obviously we worked through a ton of other things too at different times, but that was one of them that I remember being a really
so profound.
Yeah.
And it's like we can have these like just very deep subconscious parts of us, even if it's little, that's like out there kind of not believing that we can do it or holding under resentment. Or I was actually going to ask you, I mean, did you bump into any of that? Like I'm angry at the universe, or you know what I mean? Feeling like you're being punished or anything like that? 'Cause
I think earlier on I did, and, but now because of all the work that I've done and like my spiritual beliefs, even with like the home births turned C-section, it is just like, I'm just like, there's purpose for it. And I don't know, I have such a surrender and a trust now, I think, that I didn't have earlier on. And I think it's easy to get stuck in like the victim mentality, but I don't feel that at all, you know, frustration frustration even still, but not like anger.
I get it. It's such an emotional journey to say finally, like, I'm ready to have a baby. I want to do this. We spend our whole life like, please don't get pregnant.
I know.
And then to go, I'm ready. And then to not be able to manifest that. Yeah. And there's just, for a lot of people, there's so much underneath that. So what do you think your biggest piece of advice would be to somebody if they're listening and they're like, gosh, this is me. My cycles are totally bonkers. I know you've done so much, but what would you recommend people start doing?
I mean, I think it depends on what your goals are. If your goals are to just get pregnant and you really don't care about like having normal cycles, then go see a fertility medication or fertility specialist, because they're effective. They're there for a reason. But I also believe that a woman's cycle, having regular ones, but you have crazy bleeding or crazy PMS, it's our body's way of talking to us, just like everything else. It's a symptom, or it's a indicator of what other things going on. So I think to start, just first off, find someone that will do a Dutch test. So Dutch test measure, because we think estrogen, but there's like 8 different estrogens.
Types of estrogen, right?
And then they test progesterone and cortisol, and it's throughout the whole day. So you take it 5 times throughout the day, and so it's not just this one like snapshot.
Is that a blood test or a urine
test?
It
is urine and saliva, or urine and blood.
Okay.
I think I have one at home. I'm about to redo it again since I haven't done them in 2 years. Since I have been and done Nursing Oaks. But I would start there, and then because then you have information on like where you are and measuring your cortisol. Now I think they've even added, since I've done it last, like it measures your serotonin, it measures all these things, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So I think just starting there, find someone that has the same if you're wanting to get to the root cause, then find someone that's what they do for a living,
right,
is find root cause,
right,
and set your expectations that you didn't get here in a week and it's not going to fix in a month. Your cycle's not going to be normal in a month.
Yeah,
you know?
I love it. It's such a journey.
It is such a journey, and having that surrender. And in the meantime, also finding a practice of like, I feel like meditation is a non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
It is absolutely a non-negotiable, even if it's 5 minutes every day. Yeah. And hopefully you can do more, but whatever that looks like for you, you know, but finding the surrender and the open heart, and that way you're not angry and you're not frustrated, you know.
Yeah. So. When you look back, I mean, I definitely believe that we choose our body mm-hmm. and we choose our family. As a soul would kind of look at it and kind of scan, you know, I don't totally understand it, but I think there's some element to that. I very much believe that I chose a body struggling with certain things to sort of work through the blocks that mm-hmm. I've been working through in this life, mm-hmm. specifically around my throat chakra. Do you have beliefs like that at all?
100%. I'm so curious. Yeah. I think truly, I wouldn't have said this before, but now it's becoming more clear that my reason for this is because for whatever reason, I became like, I wouldn't give up. You know, I mean, obviously you saw the whole thing pretty much happen.
I mean, talk about warrior. Like right. You were like, I was like, girl, let's just have a baby. Let's do this. You know, and you were like, no, I'm going to do this right. And you did. And it was so inspiring.
And also, just so everyone knows, I used fertility medications to get pregnant with Bo, my 7-year-old. So I've done and seen both. Mm-hmm. And once again, I have major gratitude for everyone that got me Bo, because that was the stage of life that I was in mm-hmm. and where I was. But then I was in a totally different mindset with Oaks.
Right.
And I think for whatever reason, I feel like it is to help people get healthier. That is truly and to think, not even to get healthier, to think differently mm-hmm. and to believe that there's always everything we do, every thought we have, the energy of the people that we're around, how much time we are outside, how much we're on our phones, the food we put into our body, everything affects our frequency and our vibration.
Everything matters, yeah.
And which affects the health of our cells, mm-hmm. you know? And I think I truly believe, because it just feels so like what
it feels to me like it was like a catalyst mm-hmm. that helped your soul like remember that was part of your journey.
Yeah.
That's what it's always felt like to me, you know, that it's like I really, you know, I don't totally understand it, but I do believe that sometimes we sort of choose certain challenges so that we're forced to work through it, and then mm-hmm. it like draws out that warrior inside of us, that higher self warrior that's like, I came here with a purpose. And I would recommend to anybody that they follow you on Instagram or Facebook, just because I think that you're always sharing like the fun, interesting things that you do. Mm-hmm. And for me, I can get super lazy sometimes. And so I feel like I'm always like, oh yeah, I can get back into that. I can do that. You know? I just wear down sometimes, but I think you're such a good motivator. And really you're just sharing what you're doing, but it's, I think something about the energy behind it, it feels so authentic and so pure. And I think you can really tell that you're just like, you're sharing so that you could hopefully help somebody else. You know?
Which is why I share, most of the things I share are the easier and less expensive things, because like I know a lot of things I do are extreme. Like not everyone's going to do cold plunges and coffee enemas and all these things. Like I know it's weird and people are like literally so I just know that a lot of things I do are very extreme. So I try to share them more like take your shoes off, get outside, drink this much water in the morning and put minerals in them.
Put some lemon in it.
Yes, exactly. But not like go buy a cold plunge.
But there's so much we can do with just, you know, everyday small changes, like putting your bare feet on the earth, you know, to get that like the negative ions from the earth and help us grow.
And those are I think in the wellness world also. So we have like Western medicine where we're looking for this quick, simple fixes. Well, we do a lot of people in the wellness world, they're like, well, I'll be holistic. So how can this turmeric pill help me? Or it's like, let's still get our foundations.
Right.
So the foundations are the free things, you know, for the most part, like you said, getting morning sun, going to bed at a decent time, eating well, drinking clean water,
right.
you know,
movement, meditation,
exactly.
All those things. None of that, not a single piece of it costs money.
Exactly. I mean, obviously, but like, so packaged food costs money too. You know what I mean? So it is all not expensive things. And I think before you start seeking out the supplements and all these things and like, oh, I should be doing this. I should do this IV therapy and I should do this cryotherapy, and why those things are freaking amazing.
Right.
But and saunas and all these things, like, let's start with just like the foundations of health, sunlight, whole real foods, movement that you love, not movement that stresses you out. Like, also as an athlete, like, now I do yoga and go on walks. Right. Sometimes if I feel like I have pent up energy that's like stuck, I'll like jog a little or jump on my rebounder.
Right,
you know?
right, yeah.
But I mean, all these, you know, foundations are not expensive, and they are 80% of your health, you know.
I think there was something about our generation that was very, I guess, Western medicine focused, like on, even when it comes down to things like movement, we were taught like, well, it's healthy to exercise, but typically it was like to lose weight or to look a certain way. I don't feel like we really got the message that it's just part of the foundation of our health in the same way that it is out there now.
Yeah.
But when I think back to my younger years, I feel like there wasn't this holistic movement as prevalent. And I think we were all really programmed that it's like, oh, I have this ouchie, I don't feel good, I am tired and whatever. What can I take to make me, you know, to fix my broken body?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And so I think it's important to just highlight that, because I think there was something a little bit different about our generation growing up. Because I think even the generations before were still a little more holistic. Yeah. And
it's so true.
And there was something about us, like it was like the beginning of the real digital age. Yeah.
And even with an information overload, so how much do I need to work out? Oh, hit workouts in the morning. So it's like another way of outsourcing our power. Yeah. And when you really go inward and you're like, actually, I don't feel like running. And then you get these commercials that are like, just do it. You know what I mean? Right. So it's like, no, I don't feel like running this week. And instead of what's wrong with me, actually, that's your body's intelligence, because that's the whole concept of cycle seeking. Yes. And when we really, really, truly honor our bodies, and we know the difference between like making excuses and then, you know, or pushing ourselves too hard. But there's a lot of evidence even showing that really a woman should only work out hard, you know, around ovulation. And you don't have to keep track of this. Your body knows. It will tell you. Yeah. And it will tell you when a walk on the trail is the best thing to do, or a restorative yoga class or whatever. And then when to pump it up, you know.
It's so true. And because I do have times when I all of a sudden will be craving a more intense exercise, and I haven't for a long time, and I do it for a little bit, and then sure enough, I'm right back to, okay, now I just want to go for a walk. Yeah, exactly. I want to do some stretching. Yep. You know,
and so that is the intuitive nature of our bodies. We're not robots. We're not a statistic or a study done by a bunch of men at wherever they are doing these. Like, we are humans, and like we're so tied to the cyclical nature of the earth, of our own cyclical nature, and honoring that, and actually having. And I will say that has been probably my biggest lesson in the last like year, is like honoring, like, what do I want? What does my body crave right now in terms of movement, in terms of food, in terms of whatever, right? You know, because it will always tell you.
It will always tell you. Yeah. It really will. And I think we could just get into these patterns where we're so used to doing certain things a certain way, and we have all these beliefs around, I have to work out this amount to lose weight. Yep. If I want to look different, I have to work out. I have to do, an hour of cardio every day.
Yep. My body needs this many calories. Here's an app for that. You can keep track of it.
Right.
Like, what?
Exactly.
It's like all outsourcing all of our power, you know?
Yeah. And while that can be useful at times to like have accountability and kind of keep track of things, I think you're saying exactly what I totally believe too. And that's that ultimately when it comes down to any decision inside, if you can get quiet enough, you will know. You will know what's right for you. Yep. And you will know, for example, even if you're working with a practitioner that you really like, you'll know if it's not right for you.
Right.
You'll know.
Yeah.
Like, maybe you don't know right away, but if you stay tuned into your body, you'll know, like, oh, that supplement is not working right for me.
Yeah.
Or that type of meditation isn't working right for me. I'm going to try something else, you know, and we outsource it, like you said.
And even giving yourself, because I think we've become so disconnected because we have a moment of, let's say, 2 minutes of stillness because of whatever, you're in between doing tasks. And we have those 2 minutes and we pick up our phone.
Yes.
So we don't even allow ourselves to tune in to see what we want, you know? But I think creating those little moments throughout the day, then it's like a muscle to build. Because at first I feel like, I don't know how I feel. But it's like, as we get better at it, and it doesn't have to be this whole, like, meditate for the whole day to see how you feel, but just like little moments, create those little spaces of, like, tuning in.
A little bit goes a long way.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, you know, like the householders that we are, like, we're living normal lives, you know, but we're not trying to be monks that, like, go live out in the mountains somewhere and live a life like that. But just a few minutes of meditation, a few minutes of tapping, a quick walk, you know, it just makes such a huge difference.
And just stillness, like, don't pick up your phone, like, if you're at the stops. I mean, trust me, I do this all the time too. Like, but I'm just saying it's something I'm really mindful of. Like, if
we still struggle with it, but
yes, for sure.
We also know that,
and how much better I feel when I'm, like, at the stoplight and I just don't pick up my phone or in a line wherever, you know, and don't pick up my phone.
Right.
You know,
right.
And especially it's tempting when you are a business owner because you're like, oh, I could check that email off. I could get that one done. I could respond to this person, you know?
Yes, I know.
That is something that Kimber has amazing boundaries with. Of, like,
does she?
She's like, I'll get back to them. I don't know. Could be this week. Could be next week. And I'm like, it's been 10 minutes.
I have to do it now.
Yes. And so I'm really trying to get better at that. Like, not having to respond right away, you know?
Yeah. What was it like? I'm going to rewind just a little bit. What was it like for you in that space between working as a pharmaceutical rep and then now you're owning a restaurant? Like, what was that transition like for you? Was it easy? Did you know, like, oh, I know exactly what I need to do now?
Right.
Or was it glitchier?
So you mean when I was thinking about opening Nourish or like deciding to, I guess? So that was the two things that happened that really, so I remember when my eyes first kind of opened up where I was like, whoa, I was at a pharmaceutical meeting, and trust me, 99% of the people that I worked with were amazing, great people, like truly ethical, one of the best, and just really did the right thing, you know, but you drink the Kool-Aid when you go. It's slow. So they make you feel like you're truly saving everyone's lives. And I remember this is just an example. So I guess I'll just say this because it's not like it matters, but the EpiPen used to come in a single pack and a 2-pack. And obviously as a company, you want to sell more 2-packs, obviously.
Yeah.
And so during the meeting, she had this thought on stage. She's like, why do we even make the 1-pack available for people? And that was the one that I was like, oh my gosh, well, most people don't ever have to use 2.
Right.
It's 20% of people that ever do have to use the second one.
Because it is a business.
Exactly.
People have to remember that these pharmaceutical companies, they're very good. I mean, let's be honest, like, there are times when I'm like, if I need an antibiotic or if I need an ibuprofen, like, I'm so grateful.
A C-section.
And a C-section. We both had C-sections. And I mean, thank God, because I really don't think Bennett and I would have lived through that. You know, I don't think he would have. The nuchal cord around his neck like 4 times, and he was breech. And I mean, you never know, but I'm so grateful for it. However, we also need to look at it for what it is. It's a huge business, and they want to sell. Yeah. They want to sell.
That's the purpose. Yes.
They want to make money.
Yeah.
So they can survive like any other business.
And like, it's so hard to walk, because I mean, and also, they also did a lot of great things too for like the allergy community and things like that. They also did a lot of great things, but the cost of the EpiPen by the time I worked there had gone up like, I don't know.
Oh my gosh. And it still did. I think probably even after that.
Well, all the stuff that happened was after I had left, that like all the media stuff that had happened. And so, yes, exactly. Like, that's their job. And it's hard to walk away from, because you have amazing benefits. They take really good care of their employees. You get paid really well, you know, so it was hard to walk away from. But I remember nursing Bo. He was 10 months old. and I had also gone back to school and had my MBA, and I always wanted to open a business. And I remember thinking, like, I want Tim to see me doing something different. I just did. And, knowing that I was getting really into health and all that stuff, it just I just like had these like couple moments. And then Kimber was my yoga teacher. We didn't know each other at all.
Yeah.
And I messaged her, and I knew she was a private chef. And I was like, would you want to join forces and like see if we could do this? So we met for coffee. And we brought a mission, like we both wrote, because also people's ideas of healthy are very different, you know? Yeah. So the mission statement that's actually on our wall at Nourish is what I had written out.
I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah, it's on the wall, like the huge, you've seen it a million times. You just probably read it, yeah. But it's, that's what we brought. And then I normally like come up with these ideas, but I'm like, oh, my follow through kind of sucks. Like, I don't actually want to do it. Like, oh my God, that's too scary. But Kimber is the opposite. You put an idea in her head. So
oh, that's a good match then.
Yeah. It took me a second to talk her into it, but she was also 5 weeks pregnant when we started this. So we had to move really fast.
Oh my gosh.
So lots of panic attacks and anxiety attacks later. And then we opened within 10 months of that first meeting.
That is amazing.
It was crazy.
That happened fast.
It happened fast.
So you're sitting there nursing Bo, and you have this idea, and then you just started following that little message her inside.
And learned. I'd never opened a business before. Kimber had restaurant experience, but nothing like this. And I had never worked in a restaurant before. Like, it was Kimber does more. She does almost. I helped like with the smoothie recipes and you know, like that kind of thing. And I did all like the concept, I guess, you know, and then she is the operation. So she does she did the recipes for the back of like how, there's so much that goes into it.
I can't even
So that was her. And then I did the more like business side of things and now we have our very distinct lanes, but it was kind of more intermingled before, but now we're like very clear lanes. Yeah.
Were you scared or were you
I
just
was.
so, yeah.
I was scared. And honestly, like the first 2 or 3 years were horrific. I hated it.
Yeah.
I was like, what have I done? I had this 6-figure income, and now I've put my family in debt, and we're pulling out money personally to make payroll.
Yeah.
It was horrible. Like anxiety. Bo was 2 at that time, like when it would be really stressful. Now it's, we made it through.
Yeah.
We're on the other side. But those first 3 years were really hard.
Pretty gritty.
Yeah, it's exactly what people tell you. And you can't imagine feel it until you're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much personal growth did you get out of it though?
And that was another part of it. Like it was you obviously know you had to help me tap through so much of that because that was enormous.
Yeah. And that's what I love doing. I love helping people like you that have this huge vision for a way that they're going to make the world better. And they're just meeting up against the very natural fear and resistance that comes up. That's like my favorite thing to do,
self-worth, like all the things.
Yeah.
I felt shitty about myself. I felt stupid for doing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, it's easy to have this idea, but then it's just, we're not going to, obviously, and to have you help me through all that was huge.
Well, I know we did a lot of work, but you are, like I said, a warrior, and you were doing all kinds of other stuff too. So,
but I really feel like that because like you can say, I feel like tapping was a huge part of it for me to get it through and gave me the tools to use it when I was having moments of intense, moments and I could use that. That's why I say tapping, another reason is so amazing because it's not something like you have to be with that person. Like, obviously, I think those are the most like enormous.
Right. It's helpful to have a guide.
Yeah. And I think you'll have the biggest experiences. Like, I'm not going to sit there and be like sobbing to myself and like moving stuff, but it's like helps me get through. It teaches me the tools if I am feeling like, ooh, this feels like intense. Yeah. Like it gets me through, It's what
I call like the over-the-counter tapping kind of that like day-to-day, okay, I have this tool that's going to help me get more grounded, get my mind clear, calm my body down. Yeah. And then the deep dive stuff is
to actually move the deep shit.
What I call like stress remodeling, where it's like, I'm going to go deep into my psyche, into what my body's doing, and actually rewire the nervous system and remodel how I operate in the world.
And with you also, there's like, every time I'm like, how the hell did she get me here? Because you have an intuitive piece to it.
I do, yeah.
And I think that and it's not just me, like a couple of my friends that have seen you, they say the same thing. They're like, I don't know how she picks up on that. And I didn't even know that was there, you know? And so you can't do that by yourself.
Right, exactly. And it's hard to see our own shit. I mean, it's so hard. It's there, like that same block that's driving us is insane. It's like, it was probably put there by our mind at some point because it felt safer. And so we're like running up against our own walls, and it's hard to see. It's just really hard to see. But
when you're so good with past life stuff, like I have trouble seeing that. It's really hard for me to see, you know, or to access, I guess. I'm just not there at that point, right? And
I love doing the past life stuff. I just love it because I feel like, you know, I totally believe that those things that we're seeing and experiencing are real. I mean, I'm 100% in on the past life stuff. But I also feel like if I could just get somebody relaxed enough and feel safe enough to let their imagination work with them, they'll see what they need to see. So it's like, even if it wasn't, you know, even if it's not totally in their belief system, I'm like, let's just see what your mind shows you. Yeah. Because deep down, we all want to heal. And a story will come forward that will be a representation of the energies we're working through. And it's just, oh my God, it's so profound. That's what I try to tell people. I'm like, it's like there's tapping. There's like a very clinical tapping. And then there's something that I do, which I don't even know what you call it, but it's kind of a combination of so many different things.
It is. It's like an intuitive meets tapping meets. Yes, exactly.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I mean, I'm like everybody else. Like every once in a while, I'm like, am I helping people? Like, what am I doing in the world?
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, I feel like so much healing. It's insane.
Isn't that funny? Because like right now, I'm in one of those places where I'm like, no, I'm good at what I do. You know what I mean? I feel really solid and grounded, but it's, you know how you just kind of like wobble in those places sometimes, usually when you're up leveling something. Yeah. Like you want to up level your worth in some way or own something. And
I was reading
get wobbly for a bit.
The imposter syndrome. Did you hear this?
Which one?
It was like founded, the name was, came up in the 70s or something like that.
Oh, really? I didn't know about this.
Like, yeah, like the psychologist or psychiatrist, whoever came up with it. But then they wanted to change it, but it was already like published or whatever, because they're like, shouldn't be called imposter syndrome because every single person has it.
Yes.
It's not just for like a certain...
Right.
It's not a syndrome. They wanted to like take it out. It's like, it's just a normal thought.
Oh my God. And yes. You know? I feel like I've talked about this so many times. I'm like, it's not unnormal. It's not unusual to feel that.
Unless I think you might have some kind of,
like personality disorder if you don't have it.
Yes, like if you are like it's like some kind of narcissist or something. I would have
to agree with that. It's probably very narcissistic personality that would never experience that.
Right. And to think like they're just I'm the best and amazing and
right, like always. Yeah. I mean, if you're turning around and looking at yourself and having any kind of an inner world meets outer world journey, there's going to be times when you're like, oh shit, look at me doing that thing. That doesn't feel like my highest self. And then there's, you know, like some self-doubt that creeps in with that. So if somebody's not having awareness of themselves, I suppose I could see that. But
especially when you're doing something you've never done before too, you know, or like you said, up leveling, or doing like when you started the podcast, or you're starting a new thing, you know, starting a restaurant, whatever it may be. Sure. It's like, wait, who am I to do this, you know?
Oh, totally. And I want to normalize that, like, that is going to come up, and that doesn't mean you should stop. Right. Don't stop just because we're feeling like, I don't have what it takes to do this. I never in a million years would have saw myself doing what I'm doing. Right. And then like what I'm going to launch my online community. Never in a million years, ever would I have thought I could do that, or I would do that, or, you know, it's just, we hold ourselves back with those voices of self-doubt. And then the imposter syndrome, where it's like, we start to feel like that there's something even more wrong with us because we're having the self-doubt and we're not believing in ourselves. But really, it's just a level of, I would say, personal development, spiritual development. I don't know. Do you feel like, I tell everybody that walks in my door that's a business owner, I'm like, whether you know it or not, you're in the biggest spiritual development of your life working on this business shit. Yeah. I really think so.
Oh, for sure. And because it's not just when you own, it's not just you in the business, you know, you're with, I mean, your employees, your customers, like it's a whole, and you also can, one thing that's cool is you can see the vibration of your business, who it's attracting because they're at a similar vibration.
A million times over, yes.
So, and I was going to say also with when you were saying like the up-leveling and, all these things, we also have this pressure, used to have the pressure. I think it's kind of changing now where you find your purpose and you stay and you do this job forever. And so like you were saying, you never saw yourself doing this. And so we have a lot of young employees that work up front that are like college students and they're having all this anxiety about what to do and what their purpose is. I'm like, this is a journey. Like you will figure it out and you're going to change and evolve and like, don't put the pressure on yourself to find something right now. And this is your whole life's purpose.
Yes.
Is what I might be doing something entirely different in 10 years.
Right. Same. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
that's exciking to me now.
Exactly.
That would have scared the crap out of me 10 years ago.
Right.
15 years ago.
And I think that surrender, that trust, it's a new way of thinking, I think.
I agree. And I do feel like it's changing. I mean, the conversations I'm having with my 16, almost 17-year-old and my 14-year-old and my 12-year-old, I mean, it's a very different conversation. In my family, it was like you get the job with the good benefits, with the regular paycheck, you retire at a certain age, you check all these boxes and that's what's safe. And I really tried to check those boxes. It never felt safe to me. It was so misaligned.
Yeah.
I mean, it was aligned. It was exactly what I needed to do. It wasn't like a mistake,
and I also think,
but there was still that part of me, right? That was like, this is not the way I want to do life.
It was exactly where it was exactly what led you to this. I think caring for people in that capacity. And I think you gained such a huge understanding of like the human body and compassion and all the things that you do.
Right. My bedside manner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And even with being a pharma rep, I had to read studies all the time. So I also became kind of obsessed with I love the research behind even the more wide earthing, grounding works. I love
I know we like to geek out on that stuff.
Yes, I find it so intriguing,
And I love to read a good study.
I want to know why, why is it working?
Me too. Me too. I love it. I hope that you and I and all the other people on the podcast and that we touch can be inspired by, saying it's hard. Why does it sound like an airplane's going to run into that? Did you hear that?
Yes.
All of a sudden it was like, should we be running? But, I just hope some of these young people at Nourish and all over the place can listen and go I'm just going to not box myself in and try to work through the anxiety. And, I think I more and more believe that our soul has an agenda, a purpose, a true purpose. And I used to kind of believe that we had a soul, but that we couldn't really, there was no real direction from it. I'm just in such a different place with that anymore.
Oh, for sure.
That everybody's soul with all the experiences they've had comes in with this is what I want. And some people will be a nurse in the same role that I was in and be fulfilled and be happy. And that's what their soul wants to do in this life, and actually, I keep meaning to say this, but every single pharmaceutical rep that I've ever known was somebody just like you that was wanted to make a difference. I mean, obviously wanted to make a good living, but the people that I know really went into that wanting to make a difference and to, to help people live better lives. Yeah. And so I just wanted to say that because I know that big-hearted people are in medicine.
Oh, for sure. Oh,
doctors,
my gosh.
nurses,
120%.
Even, and, what's his name? He wrote a book. You've probably heard of him. I think it's called The Science of Woo. I cannot think of his name right now to save my soul, but he used to be a researcher in the pharmaceutical industry. And he talks about how most of the scientists, they're there for the right reasons. 100%. You know what I mean? It's just that the business side of it is really throwing things in a negative loop,
Truly, like I was saying, almost every rep, my manager, it was some of the best people I've ever known. There really are, and they're smart, and but it's this, pharmaceutical controls media, and we're just conditioned. And not to say these things don't have a place. We need a lot of it, right? But it's just the conditioning and where it's gone. It's swayed so far that we're the sickest we've ever been. And
did you watch Dope Sick, by the way? Eye?
No, I never heard of it.
Oh my gosh.
Dope
I think
sick?
that's what it's called. I think it's on Netflix. Oh my gosh. It's so good.
Okay.
So it's all about the Oxycontin
Oh, yeah.
epidemic, and they show, really, I think eloquently, they show the dynamic between these really uber wealthy families that own pharmaceutical companies and how these decisions are being made for profit.
Yeah.
And really kind of exposes the underbelly, I would say, of the not so pretty of the business of the pharmaceutical. Because I would watch it.
Okay, I definitely will. I mean, obviously, because though that's such a small percentage, but everyone else working, they're not seeing that.
No.
And you go to these meetings.
I didn't see it when I worked in the hospital. I did not see it.
No, and you go to these meetings and you're showing these stories of like this patient that the EpiPen saved her life, which it genuinely did.
I would say too, the EpiPen, like, still, I would rep that.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I could sell the EpiPen because it really is a lifesaver.
But it was the business side of it that I was like, and even some of the doctors that I would call on, they're like, my patients don't need 2 of them. Not all of them want to do that. If they're like an immunotherapy patient for allergy, they're like, they don't need 2 of them. I'm giving this one as a safety precaution anyway. Right. You know? And so they saw it, you know, some of it, and it felt, that's when I was just like embarrassed a little bit, you know?
Because you could see that was not for the highest good of the patient. It was
for all patients.
For financial gain.
Yes.
For the company. Because they knew you would have to buy 2.
Yeah. And the fact that the doctor couldn't choose based on his patient what to give them, that was frustrating for them. And then I was the one being like, this is all we have now, you know? And so, yeah, because the doctors should be able to choose for the patient, you know? But yeah, I do feel like, you know, my vision for our future is, obviously, we need the brilliant minds that are in healthcare, and we need them when I'm in a car accident. Like, I'm not going to acupuncture. I'm going to the hospital. Yeah. And if my son has an infection, we're going to get, you know, whatever we need to do. Right. But imagine a world where we, you know, which I think is what most doctors and nurses want to do anyway, is help people get healthier. Yes. They have, instead of having the insurance down their throat and have to see patients every 15 minutes, what if they got to work with a patient for an hour and they got to actually coach them through and like, this is what we're going to do, come up with a plan together and actually see a patient get well. I think truly is going to be our future, but that's another money thing is insurance. So like doctors can't even practice a lot of times in the way they want to practice. It's just insurance dictating what they do. And
they're spending a lot of their time arguing with insurance companies, trying to get things approved for their patients. Yeah. And then I just can't imagine what that's like for them.
Yeah. And so
having to explain themselves to an insurance person.
And they want to go into it to help people get well. And you know what I mean? And they're not even a lot of times able to do that because of the constrictions that they have on them, you know? Yeah. Time and all the things. So much. So I hope that is like my hope is that everybody has access to functional medicine and doctors that have the time to test them and get them well, you know?
Totally. Well, I think there's so much that we've talked about that I think will give people, you know, inspiration and just have them sit and think. And any final like pieces of advice or anything that you're excited about right now that you want people to know about?
Oh gosh, piece of advice. I mean, I would just say, oh gosh, that's so hard. I would say no matter what, I feel like we are all busy. Give yourself 5 minutes, non-negotiable, of meditation. It's changed my husband's life so much and mine. We do 15 minutes. And so, you know how that, if moms can resonate with this, how that nap time hits and you kind of get that panic when they go down for their nap, because you're like, I need to clean. Do I work out? Do I meditate? Do I clean? You know, like, do I cook? What do I do? And do I answer emails? But no matter what, when he goes down for his nap, if I didn't get to it that morning, I do the 15 minutes. It's not 10 to 15 minutes. It's non-negotiable. So I think that is truly it will change the way you react to your kids, your coworkers, yourself. It changes everything. Yeah. And just give yourself that gift.
I totally agree. It changes everything. Did you have to work up to the 15 minutes that you do?
No, I did the Ziva program, which it is kind of pricey. You don't need to do it. Mac and I both did that. We I shouldn't say this because it's bad, but we used the same account.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
So we used a little bit less.
I'm sure that Emily Fletcher is used to that kind of thing, you know.
But that was the one, it also talked about the science of why meditation works. You do this program and then it gives you the tools to do it.
I'm glad you said that. I actually love Emily Fletcher's. I mean, I haven't done her Ziva program. I've done some of her free stuff, and we have her book, and I love her on podcasts, and I'm just a huge fan of hers. But I think for a lot of people, even if you don't consider yourself to be like a sciencey, you know, if you don't geek out on that stuff, it might be useful to hear some of the, you know, the research behind why it works, because I think for most of us, we have a healthy dose of skeptic. So whether it's for meditation or tapping or, you know, or really anything, if you can get your mind around some of the studies that have been done, it kind of helps us melt into a practice. And
it's motivating to know, like, this is the effect it has, you know, in such a short 15 minutes. We all have 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, what's that saying? Like, if you don't have 15 minutes, you need to meditate for an hour or something like that. You know, like you need to do it more.
In a sense, it's like if you say you don't have the time, then you need to do it an hour a day. Then you're the person that needs it the most, you know? Well, and it's like, that's kind of the same when people say, oh, I'm fine. I'm like,
I can tap that out of you.
Are you sure you're fine? Because your energy's saying something different.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's all times when like we all need to say we're fine just because we don't want to share
what's
really going on with the person in front of us. But I think it's kind of a plague on us a little bit to be like, I'm fine, I'm good, good, it's all good.
Yep.
And then we convince ourselves that that's true.
I know. I just keep pushing it down.
And then our body screams at us a little bit louder. And we're like, no, I'm fine. There's something wrong with my stomach, but I'm fine.
Which, speaking of, I mean, we talked about that already, but the physical, it can manifest physically like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And it's, I mean, if we do that for long enough, and most of us were, you know, if we're a good person, if we're a good little girl, then we're not a lot of work, then we're, you know, quiet, then we're helpful. And if we're fine, we can get really praised for that.
Yeah.
And so then it's just like, oh, this is what I do to get approval and to seek love, and I'm more accepted this way. And then by the time we end up being adults, it's like the fear that we feel, or the guilt or the anxiety, becomes a physical feeling that our mind can't even register and connect with. And we're just like very disintegrated.
For sure.
Is that the right word?
Sounds good.
Very separated. I don't know.
Diseased.
Diseased.
Yeah, because that's the word.
We're real messed up.
But that's the word that it comes from, because like when your body's at ease,
right,
if it's at dis-ease, that's what disease is.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Not in homeostasis.
Just very like our mind and body are like not on the same page.
Yeah,
not aligned. So is a problem. Well, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it. How can people find you?
I mean, there's nothing really to find. Instagram.
That is not true. Not true.
Nourish.
Calling bullshit.
Nourish Cafe Market is our Nourish Cafe and Market, but Nourish Cafe Market is our website and our Instagram. And then I'm Kalle at Kalle LeMone on Instagram, but I'm not real
definitely.
I'm not like an influencer. I have like a few friends.
I know that you're not an intentional influencer, but I think in the best way you influence the way people think. And, you know, help them get excited to try coffee enemas and things. which I'm totally gonna do.
Or if you want to see how I could put leftovers in my son's lunchbox, that's about all
I'm here for all of it. Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome.